I feel really confident. I think they got a great team. They've put together, unbelievable defense with really fun to watch offense and special teams plays well, kind of ties everybody together. So they're a lot of fun to watch.
Do you look at the team and how Jalen Hurts plays and envision if you were on that team how your skill set would match with a quarterback with his skill set?
No, I've never thought about that, but I know I'd have a lot of fun. They have some of my favorite people that I've been coached by, in Sirianni and the tight end coach Jason Michaels. So it's a lot of fun to be around. The building's, buzzing right now, and so is the city.
Jalen is an MVP candidate. What's impressed you about him this season?
I think he looks like a completely different player from last year. Um, the obviously second year in the system, so that's obviously going to, he's going to improve from the X's and O's standpoint. But I think his decision making has been spectacular. I think his the down throw capability, how he has no fear. I mean, I'm sure it helps having AJ Brown, out there as well because he's obviously a phenomenal top five wide receiver in the league. But just his decision making, getting guys in the right play, getting guys in the right formation, reading defenses. Those things have been so sharp and so much more crisp this year than they were last year.
It seems like he was a runaway MVP and then got hurt down the stretch in the regular season. In your mind, though, is Jalen the MVP this year?
I'm not sure. I haven't watched enough to really say yes or no. I mean, obviously he's having a spectacular season, and it being like you said, being hurt obviously hurts that as well. But I'm not really sure who should be the MVP this year. I mean, Joey B's been playing unbelievable in Cincinnati. Obviously, Mahomes should be up every single year for it. I mean, I personally think the most valuable player on the Eagles team is Jason Kelce. And Lane Johnson and just that offensive line, they've done a spectacular job this year. But and not to say that Jalen hasn't played, lights out either. But that offense defensive line, I think, has kind of been and set the standard for the team.
How important is that? Those guys were there when you were there, and so they've been a constant. And when you have an offensive line like that, you see what offenses can do.
Yeah, I've played on a couple teams, and there hasn't been one guy that is comparable to Jason Kelce, and not just like the physical attributes. Obviously, he's a monster, and you see him finishing plays, and not just even the leadership qualities that he has, but like the way he takes pressure off a quarterback. It doesn't matter if it was Sam Bradford, it didn't matter if it was Carson or Nick Foles, it didn't matter if it's Jalen Hurts. Like none of that matters who the quarterback is. He demands so much respect, and his wisdom for the game is second to none. Other teams I've been on, the quarterback, might call protection. Well, no, Jason's the one that, points out who the offensive line is working to in the run game. He's the one who points out who they're blocking in the pass game. And just his whole psyche, everything about him is just so rock solid, on the football field. It's like a guy that when you go to battle, you hope you have him standing across, or next to you, and you can look at him and everything's gonna be all right. Just this calming presence that he has.
It could be pretty amazing for that family if the Chiefs advance, the Eagles advance, and they get them see them both in the Super Bowl. Because Travis puts up the numbers, but you can make the case that Jason is just as equally a valuable player. And there's two of them.
Yeah, yeah, the interesting thing is I think Travis he's changed the game from a tight end standpoint. Obviously Kelsey's had an unbelievable impact on football as well, but Travis is kind of like a Steph Curry-esque type player, from a basketball standpoint. Like we can all agree Steph Curry's changed the game from basketball, shooting threes all the time and just his range is, unbeatable. And Kelsey's done the same thing, he does things that a lot of people before him have never really done. And now there's a lot of guys that play the, quote unquote Travis Kelce role. And he's just a special player.
Where I think it's 5 years since your Super Bowl. How often are you asked about that play? Is that something that every day comes up?
Yeah, it comes up often. I don't know about every single day, but a good amount of times. But I mean, it depends on where I'm at. If I'm in Philly, we talk about it a lot more often. But it's definitely something I enjoy talking about.
49ers might have the best defense of the remaining teams. We know what the Eagles offense can do. What's Trey Burton's prediction headed into the NFC Championship game?
You know, I look at what how Purdy struggled last week. I think we all can agree on that. He's played so lights out, and it's been an unbelievable story and so much fun to watch, especially an underdog like that. And you wish nothing but the best, for him. But I think it's a whole nother animal when you have to come into the link for a playoff game. I mean, the Giants found out last week. There's nothing easy about that. It's hard to beat a team three times, in the way that the Eagles handedly, put it on them last week was really impressive. So just, from that standpoint of 49ers struggling on offense, because I think we all can agree they got to score points to win the game. And a lot more than they did last week. Them struggling, and then I think the Sirianni's game plan have been spectacular. When the games count and they matter, take away the last two games of the regular season for the Eagles, they've been lights out. So I think, the Eagles, there's a good chance the Eagles win handedly.